Hi, this morning's devotion is a little spring gardening. I'm going to tell you a little secret. I do not have a green thumb. I would plant roses or dusty millers or even sunflowers, and they would be scraggly and then they'd die. I do a little better with things that were already planted there in the yard when I got there. Like the key lime bush in Florida was ridiculously prolific. In fact, it seemed to do a lot better in Florida. I seem to do a lot better with gardening in Florida than elsewhere because everything grows there. There were a dozen or so pineapple plants in the yard when we moved in. And just by planting the tops of the pineapples that we harvested from our yard, we had something crazy like 60 pineapples ripen during 2020. Unfortunately, it wasn't legal for us to bring the pineapple plants from Florida to Texas. And I've tried several times, but I have not been able to get a store-bought pineapple to root. They must have been frozen at some point before getting to the store. Wah, wah. So you may be wondering what all of this has to do with our devotion this morning. The gospel passage from John this week is another of Jesus's "I am" sayings, where he is referring to himself with the name of God. Today's saying is, "I am the true vine." Listen to John chapter 15, verses 1 through 8. "I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine grower. He removes every branch in me that bears no fruit. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes to make it bear more fruit. You have already been cleansed by the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me as I abide in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine. You are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit, because apart from me you can do nothing. Whoever does not abide in me is thrown away like a branch and withers. Such branches are gathered and thrown into the fire and burned. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask for whatever you wish and it will be done for you. My Father is glorified by this, that you bear much fruit and become my disciples." Jesus says that we are the branches that are grafted into the vine. Now, since I'm not a great gardener, I had to look up grafting. Now, there are many reasons for plants to be grafted together. One is if you like the fruit, just like ones from another tree, you can clip an active branch from that one and graft that branch into a tree of yours. Another reason to give a plant for grafting is to give a plant a good, healthy root system. You take branches of what you want to grow and graft them into a healthy plant. I actually think we had a rose bush that had been grafted in our yard in Florida. It would grow these beautiful long stem red roses. But from lower down, the plant was scraggly, but extremely hardy, and it would shoot out runners and branches everywhere. And the more I trimmed them back, the more they grew. So I assumed that the nursery grafted the beautiful, delicate flowers onto this hardy but kind of ugly trunk. So let's look at Jesus's analogy. Jesus is the vine. We are branches that are grafted in. I would assume that being grafted into Jesus would definitely make us stronger and hardier. If we're connected to the tree that is feeding us as well, then we should bear good fruit. And if we are disconnected from the vine, we will wither. So we need to be connected to Jesus. The way Jesus puts it is to abide in him as he abides in us. The word abide isn't used much anymore, but the Bible also talks about abiding in the house of the Lord forever. So living there, staying there. How do we abide in Jesus? Well, he talks about his word. So I would assume that reading and studying Jesus's word would be a good start. And since praying is talking to God and talking to Jesus, sharing our lives and asking for Jesus to be with us, praying and keeping Jesus in our hearts and minds, not just on Sunday morning, but all through the week. I would think that would count as abiding in Jesus. So what happens when we abide in Jesus? Jesus says here that we will bear good fruit. So here again, I'm reminded of our crazy key lime bush. Technically, it was only supposed to bear fruit in the fall and the winter. But this bush had limes on it year-round, and it was so prolific, I was making key lime pie and guacamole and key lime vinaigrette. I was squeezing it into my water and into V8, as well as giving them away to all our friends and neighbors. I think that's what being grafted into Jesus should do for us. We should be spreading the fruit of love and kindness and gentleness and joy and peace and patience and goodness and self-control. This fruit should be so plentiful that we have to share it with everyone. There's too much for just us. Everyone around us should be enjoying our fruit. In fact, if we spread enough good fruit around, our friends and neighbors may think, well, gee, I want some of that fruit for myself. Well, how do they get fruit like ours? Okay, so I may be stretching what I read about grafting on the internet here, but if they want fruit like we have, then we should help them get grafted into Jesus, the true vine. So, how are your fruit growing? If you aren't quite happy with the crop you have, then try getting closer to Jesus. Connect with the true vine and live there in the word and the love of Jesus. Have a blessed week.